from what we do, but I want you to explain to people basically why I'm interested in your story, and how you kind of got into Blu Scarpa, which drew my attention, your eye for, design, photography, everything when it comes to what you do. But yeah, kind of explain who you are.
Welcome to Miami, Chris. Yeah, I think your interest level in I think starting the podcast and meeting with me is really as a new Miami guy, obviously being drawn into the allure of this magic city, amazing city. Meeting, I think, it's an amazing city, but I think a lot of people definitely don't work here. So I think there are diamonds in the rough, so to speak, of a lot of people that do work and are the fabric of the community. I've, not to toot my own horn, but I've been here and worked here for 20 years. I've built a couple of companies here. I'm super proud about my newest branding company, Blu Scarpa. So just here to kind of convey both my successes and failures and kind of just what I do and why I'm keen on what I do and why I do it, and kind of just elaborating on all that.
All right, perfect. So let's go. Let's just dive into it, right?
Yeah.
So also, correct me, Matthew, pronounce your last name so I don't screw it up for anybody else.
Yeah, it's Chevallard.
Chevallard. Okay, yes. Chevallard. I will not screw that up. That is, it flows.
You're good. Everyone butchers that.
That's a pretty good name for a brand as well. I'm just throwing it out there, unless it's already taken or something like that. But
no, it's funny because it doesn't sound so Italian. It's Franco-Italian. I'm from Torino, which is in the northwest of Italy, which is on the border of France and Italy. So there's a lot of Franco-Italian influence. So yeah, definitely doesn't sound Italian. It's not really Italian. It's French, but I'm Italian, American. I'm super proud about it in that sense.
Very cool, very cool. So let's go into Blu Scarpa. Like, why the name from the very beginning? The name comes to you, design comes to you, Blu Scarpa. Tell me about that.
Scarpa means blue shoe.
Blue shoe.
So I have a lot of passions. I can get going on a lot of different elements of what inspires me, etc. But Blu Scarpa is my 2.0 concept after my first brand and a couple different endeavors. And Blu Scarpa is intended to be in my 30s, I started this brand, a much more curated, elevated concept, also super simplified for my purpose as well. So I wanted to keep it as simple as possible. Originally, it's definitely evolved, and I wouldn't dare say it's very, very simple anymore. But the original premise was two shoes, a loafer and a sneaker, both blue. Blu Scarpa means blue shoe in Italian.
Very cool.
And it's just all encompassing the concept of never enough blue. For me, it was just, you go into a store, to me, there's never enough blue options. It was like, why black, why brown? I want more blue. So I think, like all entrepreneurial stories, they all start and are catalyzed by a void and a need, and you establishing a value proposition around that. And so for me, it was just like, hey, I want a more elevated, curated concept around the notion of blue. And so from there, it started with shoes. We evolved into jewelry as well. Now it's really, I would say, jewelry and shoes with all sorts of other accessories and some apparel pieces, always evolving as quickly as I can, but also curated and strategically as I can, of course. Yeah. But yeah, Italiana infused with Americana, as I describe it, which encapsulates my background, which I was born in Torino to an Italian father, to an American mother. She's from Miami. And so my story and brand, I try to keep pretty cohesive in respects to DNA, and it's Italy meets America, very simply put.
So this really is like a perfect blend with your genealogy in a way, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think it's my calling. Let's just say.
Yeah, there you go. Now, blue. That's. I mean, listen. I gotta ask, like, because it's such a you just picked this one color. Was this like when you were a kid, you were always dialed in on this color? Because also I see you're really big on turquoise as well.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's funny because there's different eras. I think during Del Toro, blue is definitely present. I always have loved blue, but red was very significant in that era. So I think like that era, red was representative of that. It was University of Georgia, where I went for 2 years before transferring to University of Miami. It was also the Miami Heat. It was also a different era of style where just men's style specifically was so bland that like wearing red shoes and red pants was so wild and so progressive. And so red was very representative of like attacking the notion of men's style, why it wasn't something. We also worked super closely with the Heat, with Dwayne Wade and LeBron James and all the guys back when they were referred to as the Heatles. We had a big involvement in kind of that. And I think also men's or NBA players at the time especially really pushed the envelope on making men's style what it is today, where now it's much more ubiquitous and much more accepted. It used to be kind of Metro, it used to be Euro, it used to be, I think it was just not regarded in the same way. Now it's, I think, highly encouraged, where it wasn't before. There was like this manly notion that like men shouldn't care about how they look.
I didn't see this conversation going in this direction, but and I'm not gonna say your NBA friends, you're doing that, not me. I'm never gonna pull your name cards for you. But the NBA, when it comes to fashion, you know, it seems as if every NBA star now has a stylist, and I would imagine you're probably one of them for one of these guys. I'm just gonna throw it out there.
No, I mean, I've never been a stylist.
Oh, really?
And everyone has their own respective stylists. I've always worked closely with stylists.
Okay.
I'm now, by all respects, especially in regards to the NBA, definitely an old head. During Del Toro, I was more or less the same age as the guys, so there was a lot more eye to eye.
Yeah.
I can't tell you, I definitely relate to a lot of the style in the NBA right now. Like I said, coming from an old head. Yeah, I mean, I still think the NBA is highly representative of the pushing of the envelope, and I think that's why I am an old head. Like a lot of the guys in the NBA are much younger now than me and speak to the youth and the culture of the youth. So I think they're still doing their thing. And I think there's no style is what you want to make of it. Style is who you are. So they're doing their thing. And I think that's all amazing and what it's intended for. There's no right answer to style. It's what you make of it. If you own it, if it makes you feel good, that's what it's intended for.
It's like the NBA like became that in a lot of ways with the runway, the NBA runway, and
I mean, I think they I think like shed the negative aura around like fashion being for women exclusively. Like there's no, in Europe that's not a thing. Definitely not in Italy, but. It definitely was not regarded as macho, like caring about how you looked or style, or now it's GQ, it's pimp, it's a very positive thing, caring about how you look. In fact, like now with wellness and everything, like it's highly not just on trend but encouraged, not just by significant others, by wives, by girlfriends, etc., but by everyone.
Have you ever run into Pat Riley? I feel like his fashion is just like...
Yeah, Pat's the man. I mean, he's an icon, especially his Giorgio Armani days, his 80s days.
Just about to say that.
And, obviously he's very, very suave. He's also an old head, though, obviously.
Yeah,
he's no spring chicken, but him in the LA days with the Giorgio Armani suits, I mean, there's nothing more iconic than that. Giorgio's always been one of my inspirations. I mean, from Giorgio and Ralph, those two guys are absolute icons. And so Pat was definitely like, in respect to the NBA and style, he was the guy. And still the guy. And he's obviously, for what he's done for Miami, what he's done for the Heat, he's always a god in all respects.
I also want to explain to my audience your first brand, because I didn't segue to that earlier. Matt actually created Del Toro, which is really odd because I trained a guy in my early 20s. I was a trainer in New York City. Okay. I was working like 2 or 3 jobs, as you should. But I remember him specifically coming up to me and being like, hey, I just bought this brand. Yeah. And it's so odd to say that I'm sitting with the guy that actually created the brand that he bought. Now, it's just such a weird mind. I'm going to curse just because this is my show, but it's a mind fuck, that I'm sitting with you and you're like, no, dude, I sold that brand to that guy. Yeah. So anyway, if he refers back, that's his first brand. And now we're going to dive into actually the genesis of what this is and the actual inspiration, which was going to obviously your parents, their genealogy, but then moving into who else guided you into creating this.
Totally. I mean, I think being, like I said, finding a void, looking for something that doesn't necessarily exist out there, being passionate about something. I think those are all like the initial elements to catalyze an entrepreneurial idea. So for me, it was just being passionate about, I was definitely just a degenerate shopper and consumer. And
were you?
Always, I mean, growing up, East Bay, sneakerhead culture, streetwear, all those different facets inspired me and led me into, hey, at Del Toro, which was my previous brand, it was like, hey, I want to infuse Italy with sneakerhead culture. And with kind of men's style evolving quickly, was creating this unique blend of that didn't exist.